Introduction. Over the years, I've seen leadership done well and I've seen it done poorly. The difference? It always comes down to people, how they're led, how they're supported, and how they are empowered to contribute and feel ownership of what they do. I've been fortunate to work with some incredible leaders, people who didn't just talk a good game, but truly live their values. They led with integrity, listened more than they spoke, and created environments where people felt safe to challenge, experiment, and grow. These were the role models who showed me that leadership isn't about having the loudest voice or the sharpest strategy. It's about showing up, being present, and creating the conditions for others to succeed. On the flip side, I've also seen the damage that poor leadership can do. I've worked under leaders who led through fear, who valued compliance over creativity, who lacked any form of people skills, backbone, integrity, and who saw their teams as numbers on a spreadsheet rather than human beings with real worries, concerns, lives, and with potential. I've even experienced selfish leadership where leaders put their own needs and desires over that of their people. They lie and string people along, all to squeeze every last ounce of you that they can before you realise and move on. The impact of these types of leadership is stark. Low morale, disengagement, and a culture where people do the bare minimum to get by. The pattern with poor leaders is strikingly predictable. They tend to stay in the same roles or the same levels for years, not necessarily because they're indispensable, but because they create just enough stability to avoid scrutiny, while stifling any real progress. They make as many enemies as they do meaningful connections, if not more. Rather than fostering trust and empowerment, they use people or they hold onto decision-making tightly, seeing leadership as a position of authority rather than a responsibility to serve. A lack of vision or tunnel vision can lead to surrounding themselves with those who reinforce their perspectives rather than challenge them. This can create an environment where compliance is mistaken for alignment and fresh thinking is undervalued. Change can feel uncomfortable as it requires vulnerability, engagement, and the ability to acknowledge that no one has all the answers. As a result, new ideas may be dismissed too quickly, not because they lack merit, but because they challenge the familiar. Without a commitment to continuous growth, both personal and professional development can take a back seat. Experience is more than tenure. It's about evolution. When leaders stop learning, teams can become stagnant and organizations may struggle to adapt. But when leaders embrace curiosity, invest in themselves, in others, and remain open to change, they create environments where both people and businesses can thrive. The most effective leaders are lifelong learners. They lead with authenticity and integrity, actively seeking feedback, adapting to change, demonstrating agility. They surround themselves with diverse perspectives that challenge and strengthen their thinking. Rather than holding on to control, they empower others, creating a safe environment for innovation, fostering a culture of trust, ownership, and shared success. As a result, their teams tend to thrive, their organizations evolve, and they continue to grow. This is the essence of the continuous learning cycle, but we'll explore that in more depth later. This book is about shifting away from the habits that limit leadership potential and towards a style that creates lasting impact. Leadership, when done well, doesn't just serve the present, it shapes the future, because when leadership is built on growth, trust, and adaptability, everybody benefits. The best leaders I've worked with didn't have all the answers, and they didn't need to. What they had was the ability to bring people together, to create clarity and purpose, and to trust their teams to do what they were hired to do. That's the kind of leadership that makes a real difference. And that's exactly what this book is all about. The Bridge to Inspirational Leadership is a framework built on 4 key pillars: respect for people, authenticity, engagement, and empowerment. These aren't just ideas, they are the foundations of thriving, high-performing cultures. Where these elements are present, people feel valued, motivated, and equipped to succeed. Without these foundational pillars, organisations risk drifting into what I call the sea of discontent, a space where disengagement, frustration, and chaotic, inconsistent performance take hold. You see, I know this because I've been there. I've experienced what it's like to navigate those turbulent waters, where motivation sinks, clarity is lost, and progress just feels out of reach. And in moments of reflection, I've also recognised times where my own leadership contributed to putting others in those murky waters too. Reacting impulsively, bombarding people with tasks without clarity, and failing to give people the time, trust, and autonomy they needed. I wasn't leading, I was acting. I was simply replicating what I'd experienced myself. But leadership isn't about staying stuck in old patterns. It can't be. It's about learning, evolving, and creating something better. By embracing the 4 pillars of respect for people, authenticity, engagement, and empowerment, leaders can build workplaces where people feel inspired, supported, and equipped to do their best work. In a straight-talking delivery, this book will take you through each element of the Bridge to Inspirational Leadership framework, offering insights, real-world examples, and personal experiences that highlight how leaders can apply these principles to develop a sustainable culture of continuous learning, improvement, and high performance. This isn't about quick fixes or leadership trends. It's about building something sustainable, something that empowers both individuals and organizations to reach their full potential, and with that, high performance. To truly grasp the evolution of the Bridge to Inspirational Leadership framework, take a step back and explore my journey in the emergence of an unexpected leader, from adversity to influence, an inspiring journey of growth, leadership, and continuous improvement by Matt Sims. That's where the foundations were laid, authentically, in the thick of it, through the highs and the lows of high performance, shaped by real experiences, challenges, and lessons that have driven this framework to what it is today.